Nashville City Cemetery opened in 1822 in this permanent location, which is just south of downtown. These tranquil 27 acres hold distinctive monuments, impressive tombstones, and unique markers which memorialize a cross-section of citizens, city founders, and leaders. The cemetery has benefited from restoration and preservation initiatives over the many decades and has also endured periods of neglect and vandalism. The Nashville government committed to a renewed effort to restore the cemetery in 2006. The Davidson County Master Gardeners partner with the city to maintain the historically accurate gardens that complement the grounds and grave sites.
Whispers Among the Stones. The story of Nashville City Cemetery. Friends, when we step into a cemetery, we step onto sacred ground. The air feels different. Time slows. The voices of the past seem to linger in the wind. The Nashville City Cemetery, established in 1822, is not just a burial ground. It is a book of history, written in stone, a silent choir of stories that shape not only a city, but a state and a nation. Here among the quiet oaks and weathered headstones lie governors and generals, poets and pioneers, mothers and children. Some names we recognize, etched into the annals of history. Others belong to the forgotten, men and women who lived humbly, died quietly, and yet together formed a living memory of Nashville's past. In 1822, the city of Nashville was still young, bustling with growth and ambition. Leaders knew they needed a final resting place that would serve generations. Thus, the city cemetery was founded just south of downtown, on high ground, where rolling hills could cradle the departed. It became the city's first public cemetery, open to all, a democratic place of rest, where rich and poor, famous and unknown, black and white, lay side by side. In that soil rests a full tapestry of Nashville's humanity. A couple of notable burials here is James Robertson, 1742 to 1814. Known as the father of Middle Tennessee, Robertson was a pioneer and co-founder of Nashville. Though he died before the cemetery opened, his remains were later reinterred there, giving the cemetery one of its greatest founders as a permanent resident.
I'm James Robertson, and this is my wife Charlotte. We want to welcome you all to the City Cemetery today. We're two of the pioneer settlers of Nashville. I was on a long hunt out here several times in the 1770s. I'd heard about the Great French Lick and the mineral springs out here and how it attracted bear and deer and elk and all sorts of animals. And so I decided to come out here and explore. And it looked so rich. In 1779, I persuaded our neighbors up at Fort Patrick Henry, a bunch of them, to follow me through the Cedar Barrens of Kentucky and to come down here in the winter of 1779 and stake claim to this land. The Cumberland was frozen. It was such a cold winter, and we just walked across the ice and up the bluff. It looked like a good defensible position. That's where we decided to settle and build Fort Nashboro. Well, our trip had been hard, but the women, children, and property, bless your heart, you had such a hard time. Tell them the story.
Well, in their defense, they thought they were sending us a little bit easier route than they took. Unfortunately, it turned out to be the opposite. We were traveling on flatboats, a flotilla of flatboats coming down the Holston River, down the Tennessee River, up the Cumberland and Ohio rivers. And when I say up, I mean pushing our boats with long poles up the Ohio and up the Cumberland rivers against the currents. I spent many hours pushing because it was all hands on deck. We had Colonel Donaldson who led the flotilla, and he has a wonderful journal if you get the opportunity to read it. A lot of exciting things and sad things happened on that journey as well. We were attacked by Indians at every opportunity, especially from Moccasin Bend, near what you call Chattanooga now, and sometimes with flaming arrows, which don't bode well with wooden boats. We also had a boat that developed smallpox, and we had to quarantine that boat. We suffered from hunger and exhaustion because many nights we were afraid to come into shore for being attacked and replenishing our stores of food. We had shoals that were so shallow that we had to offload things to get our boats across. And then the next thing you know, we'd be in some sort of whirlpool or rapids where sunk or almost sunk our boats. So it was a traumatic trip. I've often been glad that history doesn't record my first words to the general here when I got off the boat, because honestly they just weren't fitting to be
And she's a good Christian woman.
But we were ecstatic to see them. And our son Jonathan, who was 10 at the time they came across the mountains and herded the sheep across the mountains. I was so proud of him. But it took us a long time to make a life here that was safe and secure in the Nashboro area.
We almost lost poor little Jonathan and a couple of other members of our family to Indian scalping. And I knew a recipe for dealing with that. You bore holes through the skull, matter comes out and forms a black crust over the top of the head, and in time it starts to sort of heal up and peel off, and you'll get some skin growing back over there. It's not pleasant, but we can get you through it.
But it did save our son Jonathan during what we call the Battle of the Bluff, which was one of the Indian attacks. The men had gone out hunting, and in the canebrake. Tell them about that, because
there were a little over a dozen of us out hunting through the canebrake. You call it Broadway now. And it was so thick down there you could hide buffalo in it and not even find them. Well, there were about 100 Native Americans waiting for us down in there. And as they started to attack us, Charlotte heard all of that noise. And what did you do, dear heart?
I let out the dogs. The dogs who had been trained especially to attack Indians. And our hero dogs went out, ran the Indians, scattered them so that the men were able to make it back to the fort, and we were able to defend ourselves. There was a lot of sadness that day. As he said, Jonathan was scalped, but we did nurse him back to health, and he grew up to be a fine man and a lawyer here in Nashville. We did lose two of our sons, though. James Jr. and Peyton were killed. We also lost some of James's brothers, two of his brothers, John and Mark. And that type of attack went on here at Fort Nashboro for about 15 years before things settled down and we were able to make peace.
Several governors rest here, including William Carroll, 1788 to 1844, a six-term governor who guided Tennessee through times of change. Sam Brown Ayres and William B. Campbell, leaders who held the state together through turbulent times. Their stones are more than markers. They are reminders of men who carried the weight of leadership in a young and divided nation. The cemetery holds soldiers of the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, and the Civil War. Men who fought on both sides of the battlefield, now sharing the same soil in death. Confederate and Union, once divided, now rests in eternal proximity, whispering in reconciliation what the living often failed to achieve. Adelia Ackland, 1817 to 1887, the famed Nashville socialite and plantation mistress, whose Belmont estate became one of the city's crown jewels. She rests here as well. Her life was filled with wealth, influence, and tragedy, all folded into her final place among the cities she helped shape. Poets, teachers, preachers, mothers, and children. But it is not only leaders and the wealthy who lie here. The cemetery also holds the nameless infant whose lives ended too soon in the epidemics of the 1800s. It holds the teachers who shaped minds, the preachers who shaped souls, and the common laborers who built the city's foundation. Each stone tells a story, and together they weave a song of both triumph and sorrow. What is the meaning of a cemetery like this? It is not simply a place of death. It is a place of memory, a place of warning, a place of inspiration. The city cemetery is a reminder that our lives are short, but our impact is long. Those who rest here remind us that one day our names too may be carved in stone, but it will be the life we lived that echoes in eternity. It is also a place of unity. Death, after all, is the great leveler. Kings and commoners, governors and children, rich and poor, all sleep under the same sky. In this soil, There is no hierarchy, only humanity. And yet, there is also hope. For those who believed in Christ, as many buried here did, their graves are not endings but beginnings. They testify to the promise of resurrection, that one day when the trumpet sounds, these quiet grounds will stir, and the dead in Christ shall rise. Imagine walking these roads at sunset. The light fades, shadows stretch across the stones, and the breeze whispers through the trees. You hear the silence, but you also hear the stories. You sense the cost of building a city, the pain of wars fought, and the dreams carried, the faith lived. The cemetery is not only a record of Nashville's past, it is a challenge to its present and future. It asks us, what will your legacy be? When your stone is carved, what will people say of you? The Nashville City Cemetery, founded in 1822, still speaks today. Its stones are sermons. Its silence is filled with voices. Its legacy is not death, but the reminder that life is fleeting, and faith, courage, and love are what endure. So when you leave those gates, do not leave unchanged. Carry with you the lesson of this sacred ground, that your life matters, that your days are precious, and that your story too will one day be etched into eternity. Following this section of the video is a slideshow of this beautiful cemetery's most notable burials. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day, guys.